Hey everyone, welcome to another preseason Serie fantasy video. And today we're talking about some of the more notable transfers that have occurred so far. We are about midday on August 12th, so there have been some transfers that are strongly rumored but haven't been official yet. For instance, one being what would be Nico Gonzalez's potential move to Juve, but it's not quite official yet. So those kind of players are not left in there. And obviously there are so many transfers. I obviously don't have them all. Maybe I'll try to reference some more as we go through. But here are some notable transfers that have occurred and whether I will be considering having them in my game week 1 squad or not. The first one was Mikhail Di Gregorio, the new Juve starting goalkeeper now that Wojciech Szczesny is gone. He is 6.0 euro, and that's just too much for me to spend on a goalkeeper, and it would take up a Juve spot. Remember, you only get two in this game, although with some players within the league being transferred to Juve, if you transfer them in before they actually get changed to being a Juve player, as long as you don't make any more transfers before the deadline, you could have three Juve players in. So currently, as you saw in my last draft, I had Danilo, Nico Gonzalez, and I think it was Fajoli at the time, although that switched to another Juve midfielder. Um, so if that transfer occurs with Nico, I could have three Juve players in game week 1, just you can't make a transfer without correcting that first. So something to consider if Nico is part of your plans and you do want three Juve players. Um, and we just don't know if Di Gregorio is going to keep up that high standard of Juventus goalkeeping that obviously Buffon is unmatched by anyone, but Szczesny did not do too bad of a job as well. Di Gregorio did very well on Monza. Just can he keep that up at a more high-profile club? Pepe Reina is someone, he is still my starting goalkeeper as of right now. Como's definitely not your average promoted side. A lot of money has been put into Como to buy a lot of players that people would uh, recognize the names of. And we do have a couple more Como players coming up here just because it almost feels like their entire team has been transferred in. But can they live up to this hype that has kind of been generated? They do face Juve in the first game, so it will be a tough fixture for them right off the bat. But he has a cheap starting goalkeeper. Through their Coppa Italia match, it looked like he was their starter. So I'm confident with him going in, and it might allow you to have another playing goalkeeper as backup as well. Just this team will get scored on, like probably most games. So just don't think it's going to be someone that you're going to be running 3 clean sheets in a row with. Next one is Rafael Varane, another Como player. Unfortunately, in the Coppa Italia match, he has already been injured, and we don't know the length of it. But with that, as well as 5.6 for a defender, again, on a team that will be scored against probably frequently, that's just way too much for me to have in for Varane. And I don't remember him being a super attacking defender. So he is definitely a no for me. Going on to Alessandro Buongiorno, who played for Torino last year. I think in this Napoli team, I think he is definitely a starter, but maybe a little bit more risk for rotation at a big club with some depth. He is somewhat attacking. He did take a shot in the Coppa Italia match where they were pretty disappointing. But I think 6.6 just prices him out for me. Uh, where you could have players like DeMarco at 6.6. You could have Danilo, who's only 6. So I think there are better options where you don't have to spend that much. And Napoli wasn't a great team last year. I'm sure they're going to do better than they did last year this year, but I just wouldn't have Buongiorno as part of my starting 15 going into game week 1. Mateus Sula, I was very surprised that Juve gave up on him so easily and sent him over to Roma after he had a great season at Frosinone. Part of what made him a great fantasy asset is that he was on penalties at Frosinone, but with players like Dybala in the team and a lot of other high-profile players at Roma, he probably won't be on penalties right away. But they do have great opening fixtures. 7.0 is not a horrible price. It is significantly more expensive than he was last year, but he is a good young player, not hit his prime yet. Um, I think that he would be a great option to have, just it is taking up a Roma spot. Personally, right now, I'm still liking having Dybala in my team, but Sula is a great option as well if you don't want to pay that price. A little bit of a weird one here, Shea Adams, not too talked about so far, but he is a player that a lot of people would have heard the name from, especially if you've played Fantasy Premier League or if you're a Premier League fan as well. I'm definitely not having him as part of my starting 15, but I thought he was worth mentioning, and he hasn't really been talked about much. He does have to compete with Zapata and Sanabria, who have been in this team for a while. But you never know if one of them get injured and all of a sudden he becomes a regular player in the team. He did play very well when he was in the Premier League, and at 5.6, that could be a great budget option. Alvaro Morata at 8.0, I feel like he should be considered to be one of the premium forwards in the game and probably should be higher expense than 8.0. Like I don't really understand why Dubvik is priced higher than him when he has never played a Serie A game, nor has he been in one of the top 5 leagues. I don't think. Sorry if I'm wrong on that, but I haven't really heard his name before this transfer to Roma. Whereas Morata is Serie A proven. He's coming off an impressive Euro championship. Um, and you just kind of know already what you're getting with him. And I think 8.0 is a great price to have him. If you can fit him into your squad, I think he's a great striker to have. Alexis Sanchez just recently became official and into the fantasy Serie A game. At 7.0, that's not a horrible price for him, but horrible fixtures for start to Udinese. I'm not saying I will never have him in my team, but I'm definitely not starting with Alexis Sanchez. He likely will be the focal point of this team, but he is past his prime. And just not someone I'm going to be starting with, but definitely someone to consider as you go throughout the season. Now we do get to Dobvik here. Roma does have great fixtures to start. I'm not saying that like compared to Morata, Morata's necessarily the better option. I'm just surprised Morata's not higher priced. It doesn't seem like he has a lot to compete with up top for Roma right now. It sounds like Tammy Abraham's trying to be shipped off anyway. So I do think he will be the starting striker, probably right from the start of the league. Is a bit pricey. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit him into my team, but if I can, I would definitely be thinking about it at least. There are a couple other Roma options that I do like, but if you can fit them in, I don't think you can go wrong with putting Dobvik in your team. Just the Linga now. I feel like a lot of people would be disagreeing with me on this one. That's fine. 6.0 for a forward is a great price, but I do think this Bologna team is going to be very different than what we saw last year. I don't think they're going to be as great. They've lost their top striker in Xerxes. I don't know if Dalinga can fill those shoes. They have a different management, and they're going to have a lot more fixtures now. With being in Europe as well. So I'm not super hot on Dalinga right now, but maybe he'll be able to prove me wrong. Next is Moise Kean, who I am very keen on myself. At 5.0, I think that's a great budget option, leaving a lot of options elsewhere. He'll finally be the main man at Fiorentina, where he's always been playing behind more prolific strikers in the past. So a chance for him to really show his worth on a decent team, and I think he's underpriced at 5.0. And then we have Andrea Ballotti, also at Como, brought in. He's kind of made his way around Serie A at a lot of different teams, but I find he struggles to get in his groove a lot. And he has ended up being a more bench option the last couple of years. But here's a place where he probably will be the starter. He has a good striking partner with Cotrone, who scored, I think he scored in the Coppa Italia match. but I think he's someone that I need to see some consistent positive fantasy performances before I end up buying him, so he will not be making my starting squad, but 7.0 for him isn't a terrible price. And I believe this is lastly, we have Matteo Retegui, who was a hot topic at the start of last season and now is again with a big injury to Scamacca, unfortunately. This has opened the door for this Retegui transfer from Genoa to Atalanta, and I imagine that he's going to be the main man right out the start. Just watch out. He did pick up a couple injuries last year. Hopefully that doesn't happen again because I think Atalanta might be leaning on him significantly. And he's a great option for budget. There's a couple good budget options in the forwards that you can make room for. Obviously, Lautaro Martinez is probably in your squads, but more expensive midfielders as well, or premium defenders. But he is definitely someone I have considered and has made his way in and out a couple times of my team. That's what I got for some notable transfers and what I think about them. Please don't forget to subscribe if you see this video a little later and you're wondering why I've left people out. Well, just kind of check when those transfers became official. But obviously you can discuss them. Who do you disagree with? Who should have been in there that has been transferred? I know the likes of someone like Spinazzola has been transferred to Napoli. I think he might be a good option. There are others as well. But let me know what you think, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.